Listening into that conversation is the person that you're seeing on the screen, Glynnis Breytenbach, and she is a leader of the main opposition, the Democratic Alliance. Ms. Breytenbach, you are no stranger to law enforcement. Talk to us about what your interpretation is of what Ace Magashule is seeking to do here. He's instructed his lawyers to question both the Hawks and the NPA about whether there is an impending arrest against him. Is this normal?
Good morning. Yes, it is perfectly normal. If a person becomes aware that the law enforcement agencies are looking to arrest them or they're being investigated by the National Prosecuting Authority, it's perfectly normal in my experience, particularly in more high-profile people, for them to approach the authorities and make some sort of arrangement. Find out if there is a warrant, and if there isn't one, but one is pending, then make an arrangement to hand themselves over at a police station accompanied by their lawyers. It just makes the whole process more civilized and much easier to deal with. It's really not necessary to have Hollywood-style arrests in the middle of the night. You save that for people who are serious threats to society and are serious flight risks and are on the point of fleeing the country. But normally, if someone becomes aware of the fact that there may be a warrant out for their arrest, of course, make an arrangement, approach the police, find out what the situation is and make an arrangement. There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
As long as Mr. Magashule does it through his attorneys, through his legal representatives, that's absolutely fine. If the ANC does it, that's a different story altogether, and that becomes problematic. But as long as in his individual capacity he has all the rights of any other citizen, as long as he does that through his legal representatives, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it can't possibly be seen as intimidation.
Well, let me ask you the question then. If the ANC, because we had the spokesperson of that party commenting, and they said they would first seek clarity and see what is going on before they issue any comprehensive response. I asked the very same question of intimidation to Hangwani Mlaudzi for the Hawks, and he said, no, he's not going to use my words, intimidation, but he does say it's disturbing that they would have something like this happen. What do you make of those comments, that these are disturbing developments as they see it in the Hawks?
I think what he was referring to that was disturbing was the fact that information of this nature is leaked late at night to cause a flurry of excitement, causing him to field telephone calls at all times of the night, and sources within the Hawks confirming things that they shouldn't be or don't know anything about. I think that's what he meant is disturbing. He couldn't possibly have meant that it was disturbing for an attorney to contact the DPCI to inquire about the position of their client. That just is not disturbing. It's very normal. It happens every day.
Okay, let me ask you to just hold that thought for a moment. Let me bring in quickly Bantu Holomisa. He's the leader of the UDM. Mr. Holomisa, are you listening into this conversation? Your thoughts on what Mr. Magashule is seeking to do here?
Well, it falls within his right. But it's a pity that we are busy with this high-level gossip, and we are not hearing the views or the word from the people who published the story. It might well be that some of the people were assigned to investigate this case or investigate the alleged involvement of Magashule have leaked this to the media. They got too excited. So that's lack of discipline on the part of the investigators. But be that as it may, Ace is correct in clarifying this through his lawyers. So let us now ask the NPA, the independent newspapers, as to whether there is truth in this, and if the NPA is denying current, as they are saying so currently, at a certain stage, both Hawks and NPA, there is a document in possession of the independent newspapers then this whole thing will be more serious, because it would...
All right. Mr. Holomisa, let me ask you this, and I beg your pardon here. We are going to ask you to just hold the line, and let's take a short breather. We're going to come back to this very discussion. You're watching Newsfeed AM. And we are in discussion with Glynnis Breytenbach, and she's with the Democratic Alliance, and we also have the leader of the UDM, Bantu Holomisa. And to the both of you, thank you very much for keeping the line. Glynnis, let me come back to you. Your reaction as a party to the wave of arrests that we are seeing, particularly that involve tender fraud. How should the public interpret this?
Well, the public should be enormously pleased. Cautious optimism, I think, is in the order of the day. These are relatively low-key arrests at the moment, sort of going after the middle tier of people. The plan, obviously, is to take out the middle tier and watch the house of cards collapse, which it no doubt will do. I'm sure there are a lot of more high-profile people than those now being targeted who are sleeping very badly at night, and that's quite marvelous. So yes, we should be very happy. Of course, the next year is next, and so yeah, I think we're seeing some progress. We've waited a long, way too long for this progress, but you know, now that there is progress, we should be happy for it.
Yeah. As someone
there must certainly be much more high-profile arrests in the pipeline, because these are really the small fish. Yeah.
As someone who is very alert and very aware of the law enforcement space or the prosecutorial space, in your view, all these cases that are being taken to court, are you confident that they are absolutely going to secure convictions at the end of the day? Hermione Cronje is very clear that they are under serious pressure, and therefore the convictions ought to be the next step after what we see.
Well, you know, my view is this. A successful prosecution is one in which innocent people are acquitted and guilty people are convicted. You can't win every single case that you take to court. You're going to lose some, and no doubt they will lose one or two. Convictions are important, and you need to win a lot more than you lose. They are under severe pressure to produce results, and people will not settle for anything now, I think, less than strong convictions, strong sentences. But people must understand that, you know, things can go wrong in any criminal trial, and they're going to lose some of them. That's inevitable, and they can't be blamed for that. You can't win every single case you take to court.
All right. Let me bring in Bantu Holomisa to the conversation. Mr. Holomisa, the wave of arrests we are seeing, I just asked that question to Glynnis Breytenbach. How is your party interpreting what is happening? I'm talking about the wave of arrests now that are taking place, particularly in as far as tender corruption is concerned.
Well, we welcome these arrests. However, we wish that the Minister of Justice can have coffee with the Chief Justice and make sure that there are special courts who are going to attend to these cases. It will be a pity if they are just going to arrest people and then they don't try them. We have seen this in VBS. There was a halubalu and a lot of noise and hope, but nobody has been tried so far. It's postponements. I mean, this is more dangerous, where you dent the image of the people, and then after that you don't charge them. So, Minister of Justice, the Hawks boss, as well as Chief Justice, they must allocate judges to deal with these cases once and for all, and then we got on with our lives.
All right. Mr. Holomisa, just hold that thought for a moment. Let me release Glynnis Breytenbach. Ms. Breytenbach, I'm told that you are pressed for time. Let me thank you for holding the line and talking to us this morning. She is the leader of the Democratic Alliance. Thanks indeed for joining us. Mr. Holomisa,
Yes,
thank you for holding that line. Let me ask, if there are delays, as you allude to right now, and that there needs to be special courts that deal with these cases, it would appear that it is linked to your first response that if Mr. Magashule indeed has a warrant of arrest that sits with him now, and possibly, I think that's what you were saying, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, and possibly he has decided to leak that information to a newspaper, you tell me just how fast these matters ought to be done so that, cases or, court cases get underway very quickly.
Well, in order for you see, this is a serious situation because we are beginning to deal with the senior members of the ruling party in this corruption saga. What we need to do is to make sure that the Hawks and NPA, they apply maximum high standard of discipline. Because if they are excited and they leak these stories, then people will interpret this as a political move to attack other people within the ruling party. Mm-hmm. So what we need to see right now is a maximum high discipline, and make sure that if the docket is finished, is taken to the NPA, and the NPA must pronounce whether they are going to prosecute or not. You can't have this kind of uncertainty.
Yeah.
So I just hope that sooner or later, the people who perhaps the independent newspapers will come up and say, yes, it's confirmed with evidence. This thing of immediately denying and yet later they are going to arrest Ace Magashule. The other thing which needs to be clarified, the NPA and Hawks must publicly say, yes, we are investigating Mr. Magashule, but we have not yet completed the investigation. That must be confirmed by them. Otherwise, we're not going to waste our time on high-level gossip.
And you make a very, very important point there, Bantu Holomisa, and we possibly are going to try and see if we can get a hold of the National Prosecuting Authority. It's a very good point indeed that you're making. Let me ask you this final question, and you're talking about working with speed as far as law enforcement authorities are concerned. There are already suggestions against law enforcement that they are conducting, if I refer to the statement that was issued by the ANC Youth League in the Free State just last night about this possible warrant of arrest against the ANC Secretary General. And they're saying that they are watching with interest what appears to be the CIA-style arrests that are being effected here. So you can already tell that the political space is rumbling. And it's important that indeed what you are saying is done, and is done swiftly, and there ought not to be these denials about whether or not Mr. Magashule is being investigated.
Yes, I hope that this is a lesson for the law enforcement agencies in this particular case, and they need to quickly assure the nation that yes, they are investigating him, and the matter is under control, or there is no such, then we will be able to say maybe there is a political motive from within the movement, the ANC, that they are beginning to discredit each other. But it's too early. Let's wait.
All right. Bantu Holomisa, leader of the United Democratic Movement. Thank you very much for making the time to speak to us on Newsfeed AM.